game day.
Welcome in to another episode of Chiefs Focus Live. We are in Super Bowl week. We are less than a week away from the Chiefs going through the three-peat. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about specific matchups, specific guys to keep an eye out for. And hopefully nobody says Patrick Mahomes because that would just be lazy. We got a full crew today. We got Philip, we got JP, Caleb. This is running the show in the background, and now a group of guys who are ready for the Buffalo Bills to make a Luka-esque trade for Myles Garrett. It's the whole squad.
Unbelievable trade.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. I think Myles Garrett's going to end up with the Raiders.
It's so funny because when the GM came out and said that, oh, we're not trading Myles Garrett, I immediately texted my friend. I was like, so Myles Garrett's getting traded.
We knew about that last
year.
year.
When that stuff happened, when a GM comes out and is like, yeah, we're not trading this guy, then immediately it's like, okay, he's going to get traded, because you don't say that if he's not unhappy.
Dude, me and Philip talked about that on a show we did somewhere around, it was right at the end of the season. And we heard that Myles Garrett was unhappy and he was ready to leave.
Yeah.
Caleb was on that show. And
I probably was, yeah.
Yeah. And I said, well, I mean, when I heard about it, I went, well, I guess he's ready. You know, you can't blame the guy. Look, he's arguably one of the best defensive players in the league, probably top two.
He's been, like, if you break it down even to specifically pass rushers, he's been a top 3 pass rusher basically probably since he's been in the league.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy's been constantly
he's a 6-time Pro Bowler, man.
Yeah, like up towards the league in sacks, and he's been to the playoffs one time. He's won one playoff game.
Yeah.
And first of all, I really appreciate that he was very professional about it, right? He sent out that letter to the fans, and then inside that letter, he took a shot at the Browns general manager.
Yeah.
So it was like a perfect amount of professionalism. And then you add in, it's like, oh, like he knows that this is done. So
yeah.
I hope he goes to the NFC. I think it'd be really interesting.
That's probably what will happen. He'll be to NFC.
It'd be really interesting if he went to like the Browns, or not
Raiders.
The Browns, the Bears.
He's gonna go to the Raiders.
That's where I think it would be really interesting if he went, or to the Vikings, basically the NFC North. If he went to one of those teams. But honestly, it doesn't really matter where he goes, because he's not coming to Kansas City. And
from what I understand, he has a no trade clause.
Well, he's not staying.
So he's not staying. So,
right.
But I think he has the choice of where he wants to go.
I mean, basically, yeah. Even if he didn't, he still has, like,
they would be.
He's a high enough priority. He's a high enough guy to where he can just be like, yeah, I'm not going there. I'm not playing with that team. You know.
I don't know, man. I got a feeling. I've heard it a couple times from some people. I got a feeling he might end up with the Raiders.
That would be crazy if that happens.
But I mean,
okay,
his cap is not bad. His cap is not bad. That's the thing.
Yeah, he's towards the end of his deal. I mean, wherever
that's a way to make Max Crosby happy. That's all that is.
Yeah, because Max, I'm sure he wants to get out too.
He's going to be Max. It's going to be those two guys moving this offseason.
We're in the point now where guys just get moved in the offseason, and it's good. You know, it's good to see guys get moved around, and players are more vocal than ever. And I think it's good for the league. It's good for guys to have a voice and to have superstars get moved outside of cities that they aren't happy, and to where cities that, you know, those fringe contenders are the ones that you want to see end up with them, right? Like the number one, like the Eagles are not ending up with them, right? The Chiefs are not. But it's like that. It's the bubble guys, the bubble teams, like the Commanders are a team that could end up with.
Could be the Ravens. You never know. I mean, it could be somebody like the Ravens or the Rams.
Can't imagine them trading Myles Garrett to the Ravens. That'd be insane.
What about the Rams? If you want to go NFC,
that's a good one.
I mean, the Rams will be a great team for him.
Yeah, that would be a great team.
They need that. They need that replacement. You know, they still haven't gotten that replacement, and that would be a good. You know, but anyway, regardless, he ain't coming to Kansas City, so it don't really matter.
Yeah.
Veach ain't going to give us that draft capital.
Imagine that, man.
That's the
Jared
entire
Verse Yeah.
You never know.
That's
Jared
the entire
Verse.
reason that I made that we started talking about that. I just wanted
Yeah.
to make a joke. So, but yeah,
I'm-
Jared Verse is the dog, right?
Jared
put him
Verse, and
over
then
there.
also
Crazy.
who else? Fisk they got as well, and they also got Kobe Turner with
Yeah.
Miles Garrett.
Basically, my entire draft
gosh.
board is what they drafted.
Yeah.
Oh
They
man,
got into my Google Doc.
they
and
got one of
stole it.
my guys, Tyler Davis from Clemson.
Speaking of my guys, Nico has been pretty good. I just wanted to point that out too.
Ooh, Nico Remigio. Oh my gosh. this. Remember when I said on the War Room 2 days before the game, I said in one of the 3 keys for us to beat the Bills, Nico was going to be the guy that we needed to have. Either the punt return or kickoff return. He is just great, whatever he does, man. His field vision, that's what we needed. I wish that's what McCole Hartman had, was just that field vision. Yes, I did, bro. Oh, my gosh. That field vision is what we needed, and it doesn't matter about the speed, because this is the same thing I saw in Danny Amendola. Danny Amendola had the same size, the same ability, starting as a return specialist, and then became one of the reliable targets for Tom Brady. And that's what we got in Nico Remigio, and I think he's a future All-Pro, and I love what I saw in that game, bro.
That kid's
Go
a
ahead,
beast,
Quentin.
man.
Oh, my gosh, man.
Quentin's all silent.
Hey, I'm just excited that a guy that I said that the Chiefs should draft in the 7th round, and they ended up, or maybe I said
You're right.
I remember that.
They picked him up as an undrafted free agent. He sort of just sat around for a year, and now you're starting to see him develop into a real special teams guy. It's like, what are the odds that Kansas City in back-to-back years sets a punt return record
Exactly.
right in the Super Bowl? I think that'd be pretty funny.
That would be funny. And I tell you what, he's the guy that can do it against their special teams. He could do that. He could absolutely do that.
He has such a vision. Like it's almost like he's not even looking at the guy in front of him. He's looking at the guy, 5 yards in front of him.
Yeah.
And he's so slippery. He doesn't have crazy speed, but he led all of college football in return touchdowns. So the vision is there. And sometimes it's not about how fast you are. It's how you can just maneuver your way through all these guys. I like to compare it to
Kareem Hunt?
a wave of rushing water.
Yes. Like Kareem, like you saying too, Quinn, a wave of rushing water, like you're saying, JP. So like for
going
example,
down a river and there's a bunch of like logs coming after you, and you got to just find it, like just scoot your way around them. You don't have to be fast. You just got to be able to scoot your way around them. I mean, on that punt return in the Bills game, there were 7 guys that got hands on him, and he was able to just
slip away
just far enough. It's like, yeah, guys got their arms on him, got their hands on him, but it wasn't enough to push him out of bounds. It wasn't enough to get a good wrap on him. He was able to keep his balance and keep going. Yep. And this is going to be a tight game. Kansas City is built to beat every team by 3 points. Okay. So
well, not every team.
If you're going to beat, some teams by 2 points. If you're going to be able to beat the Eagles, special teams is going to be a big factor of it, and I think there's going to be a lot of eyes are going to be on Remigio, because the Eagles are going to have to punt the ball at some point, and they're going to have to kick the ball off at some point, and we'll see what he's able to do. I think that is an underrated matchup heading into this game that nobody's really talking about, but throughout the entire playoffs, Kansas City has had the special teams advantage, and this continues into the Super Bowl.
Agreed. And another matchup I think is Mike Pennell versus Saquon Barkley, because everybody bragged about how Cook got all 85 yards against us in that playoff game. Mike Pennell wasn't in that playoff game. Mike Pennell was not playing. He's playing. He's healthy. He's good. He's good to go. I'm telling you, he is a key matchup against Saquon Barkley. He actually completes the run defense. He completes it at 36 years old. He completes that run defense.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And JP, you got to take this into consideration. Felix Anudike-Uzomah is one of the top 10 best run defending defensive ends in the NFL. So Pennell and FAU are also key, because I understand what you're going off of. And I'm going to say this too, why I'm just not about Saquon. Remember Christian McCaffrey last season?
Yep.
McCaffrey. Oh my gosh, McCaffrey. The moment that Pennell just boomed that ball out of his hands,
Yep.
the talk about McCaffrey was over. And I think that kind of like every moment or every game will kind of affect a player. Whether it's the Super Bowl, whether it's the NBA Finals Game 7, or whether it's the Elite 8 or the Final 4. I mean, case in point, for example, yes, I'm a KU guy. I remember a player by the name of Elijah Johnson going against Michigan when they had Trey Burke and those guys, and everybody was talking about, oh, this Michigan team was bringing back the old Fab Five team. And I remember that KU game where Elijah, this is a college student at the time, yes, he put his heart into the game, just like Mark Andrews in that game against the Ravens and the Bills and everything else like that. And, of course, I might make a Mark Andrews reference tonight, but as a joke. But there's no joking for real in this one because these moments can really affect a player going forward in their lives, whether they're in college or the pros. And we saw that with Mark Andrews. But before Mark Andrews, there was Elijah Johnson, where I think he missed a game-key shot that could have helped us go to the Final Four. But when he missed it, that was it. And Michigan prevailed, and people were sending him hate mail and all this other stuff, and I really felt bad for Elijah. And I still to this day, he's in my heart because it's like, bro, I hope that you are living a great life and you forget about all those fans because all those fans, Nick Anderson. But yeah, anyway, that's the thing about those moments like that. Those the key moments are going to matter, and that's why with us, it's going to matter with those moments like that for our guys. Like we know how to stop the guys like a Saquon. We stopped Derrick Henry. We stopped every running back in the NFL before. Of course, we haven't played Saquon Barkley. But
That guy
allowed the Chiefs haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher in 2 years.
2 years.
Exactly.
2 years. Here's the thing, though. I look at Saquon. He's done some phenomenal things since he's been with the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
But he needs wide open lanes to get through the line. That's the one thing he doesn't have. He's not able to get past the line if there's no holes open. He's not like a guy that can find an opening, break out of a cluster, and find another route. He will go down if you close the gaps.
Exactly. And
that's the difference between him and other running backs. But I'm going to say this. If he gets open, that he's got the speed and the agility to get down the field. And that's a little scary. That's something that we have to make sure that if we can stop him, force Jalen Hurts to either run or pass the ball. We do that, we're okay.
Oh, yeah.
We're okay.
Yeah, if Jalen Hurts in this game ends up with 30-plus passing attempts, I think that looks good.
That's
for
really
Kansas
good.
City. I think this is going to be a game that gets shortened with the amount of possessions because both these teams will run the ball. In Vic Fangio's defense, the way that it just is built, they want to play back and they want to keep some of those big passing attacks from happening, which means you're encouraging teams to run the ball. And Kansas City is going to do that. We've seen Kansas City do that over the last couple years where if you are playing back and you've only got 2 linebackers in there and you're playing against the pass, Kansas City will run the ball. And if you've got 2 different teams that are opting to run the ball, that means that there's going to be less possessions. So you need to be able to take advantage of those possessions.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that we were talking about before the show started was the turnover differential and how both the Eagles and Kansas City have not really turned the ball over much at all. Patrick Mahomes hasn't thrown an interception. Jalen Hurts has the NFL's longest streak for not turning the ball over in the playoffs. And I think that is a little bit flawed just because I think we need to take into consideration when the Eagles fail on the tush push or on the 4th and 1s or whatever, that counts as a turnover for me.
It does.
Especially in this game where it technically is not a turnover on the sheet, right? But to me, that's as good as a fumble because that's going to take possessions away from them because we know the Eagles are going to try and quote unquote steal extra possessions, right? By trying to go for it on 4th down right around midfield. Hey, it's 4th and 1. It's 4th and 3. Let's try and put the ball up the middle and see if we can get a little bit closer to field goal range, or if we can drive down the field and score a touchdown. That's what the Eagles are going to have to do in order to beat Kansas City. You need to play aggressive. You need to do those things. And if Kansas City can stop them there, that's going to lead to stolen possessions back in Kansas City's favor, and you can get the ball right around midfield. I think the key for this game is actually going to be winning within the 40s, right? And I mean in between the 40-yard lines, because that's where you need to make your stops and keep the Eagles from breaking those long, like 16-yard, 13-yard drives and scoring touchdowns. Yeah. So if you can sort of fight within the middle of the 40s, I think that's where the game is really going to come down to, because both these teams are going to play very aggressive right in those areas.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think what's going to come down to is it's going to come down to that, but also the big plays. Who can stop the big plays? And if the Chiefs can get a pick here or there, or they can get a fumble or something, that's going to help push them over the top compared to the Eagles. Because last year, 2 years ago, when the Chiefs beat the Eagles, they were doing pretty much where they want to, but it came to a point where the Chiefs were able to stop them holding the field goals and allow the Chiefs to kind of come up and do whatever they needed to do. So it is very, very possible, but they just got to keep the tempo, keep the tone. Can't let Bartlett go off. Can't let A.J. Brown, can't let Devontae Smith go off. You got to hold them, like Quinn said, inside the 40s.
Hey, Will, real quick. Right now, everybody's unspecified. Just so you know, as of right now, they're all unspecified. A lot of players didn't practice. They got them down as did not practice. This injury, that injury. But I just pulled it up a minute ago, and I haven't heard anything different. They're just not specifying anybody until they absolutely have to, of who they're actually going to be, who's going to be on the field, from what I understand. Unless Quentin has something different, but that's what I see.
No, it's all. The problem is that with Super Bowl week, there's so much other crazy stuff.
Yeah, the media nights and everything else that's going on. It's just too much.
We won't get a real injury report until Thursday.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
That's when the injury report will get updated. Is Thursday, and Friday's practice, and when we'll get a better idea. Now I can tell you this: Kansas City is very healthy.
Yes.
Right? We know that for a fact.
Well, he was asking about the Eagles.
The Eagles on the what was it? Their guard or center
their center's injured. One of their guards is injured. Yeah.
I mean, it was like so bad that he was like limping off the field between.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play.
It was crazy. I think he will play because he played through the back injury in the Commanders game, and now he has 2 weeks off. But
he's gonna be shot up.
He's gonna have they're gonna. I mean, Toradol is his best friend if that's what they're doing.
Get a little
Just
vitamin D.
Mistake. Yeah. Well, I tell you what. Talking about turnovers, what Quentin or Caleb just brought up. You know, I think one of the keys is Jaden Hicks. People forget about how good that kid is when it comes to creating turnovers, not just a pick, but he's great at punching the ball out. That's something that nobody else on our team tends to practice enough. But he practices it over and over and over again, punching that ball out, and he's strong enough to be able to get it out and knows when to get it out.
And he can hit to get it out too.
Yeah, he can hit
Cam
to get
Chancellor
it out.
Hit.
Yeah,
Howard.
I think that kid there is another big defensive key for us when it comes to even Saquon Barkley. Because if Barkley gets past, say the linebackers at all, he's there.
Yep.
I'm gonna
if
say
Hicks
this
is on the field, he's gonna make sure that Barkley feels it.
Yeah, I feel like our defense could actually hold Saquon to under 100 yards rushing. I think we could do it.
If they do that, he's win.
He got held.
I mean, we're
what
the
game
third.
was it? He got held to minimal yards in a game.
Yeah, I think it was
not
like
too
one
long
game,
ago.
like under 60 or 70, something like that. I remember
it was under 60 yards.
Yeah. But this is what I was going to say though, like to mention on piggyback on what you guys mentioned about the turnovers. Yes, the turnovers could decide the game. I mean, the Eagles, they have the 6th best turnover margin in the regular season, finishing at plus 11. They also ranked 6th in the NFL with takeaways, 26 takeaways. However, they have 15 giveaways. That's just one more than the Chiefs have allowed, 14. And you know why that statistic is there? Because of the D-Hop trade. Ever since we traded for D-Hop, that number has dropped and the Eagles' number has risen, the giveaways. So that tells you a lot. And when I researched this on ESPN, the giveaway department, the fumbles. So that leads me to talk about how creating those turnovers without committing them will be crucial. Additionally, it's important to convert those takeaways into points. Therefore, the effectiveness of this pass rush will be essential for this game. And they will also be another key factor, the pass rush. Jalen Hurts versus this pass rush. Like Josh Allen, Hurts can escape the pocket, gain extra yards by scrambling and improvise plays when the original plans break down. This underscores the importance for our pass rush stagnation to sustain the edge control and get the secondary following their plaster rules, which require them to identify and shadow the closest receiver whenever Hurts is on the move, seeking an open target. And I'm going to tell you this. You can get Jalen Hurts, man, because like what Jayden Daniels was supposed to do last week, but, Dan Quinn, I don't know what's wrong with that guy, but he was supposed to show him how to play quarterback. That's what Mahomes about to remind him again. But this is the thing. Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson, they continually take like big 15-yard sacks in moments where they cannot afford to lose the yardage. And I'm going to say this too. Schrader Sanders, Deion's son, he's going to follow the same pattern. Yes, save this clip as I say this. And you're about to see that, and that's going to be crucial into this game. So,
yeah, those big sacks, we know that despite the fact that Chris Jones is a future Hall of Famer and he's played in 4 Super Bowls, somehow the guy has 0 sacks in the 4 Super Bowls.
He has 0? Oh, he's getting one this time.
He doesn't have any sacks in the Super Bowl. Remember, because he went remember the big conversation was he didn't have a sack in any playoff game for years.
That finally ended last year.
That ended last year, but but that didn't come in the Super Bowl.
No.
He doesn't have a sack in any Super. So I think that Chris Jones is actually going to play a huge role in this game.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just going to be trying to push the pocket up and putting a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts. But we've seen that more and more Chris Jones has been put on the outside. Unfortunately, the Eagles' strength of their offensive line is their tackles. They have probably the best tackle duo in the league. And that means I think Chris Jones is going to play a lot up the middle. And I think one of the big matchups in order to get sacks, we really need to see a lot from George Karlaftis.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're going to try and put pressure on Jalen Hurts on the few times that he has to get up and get pressure, Charles Omenihu will be on the outside, but I think a lot of it's going to come down to George Karlaftis. And that's going to be a huge matchup because if you're able to get pressure without sending a lot of blitzes, a lot of pass rush blitzes, right? Not run blitzes like we talked about last week, the difference between the two. If you can get pressure with George Karlaftis, that's a game changer.
Oh, I agree. Also, you mentioned Charles Omenihu. I don't know if we've talked about this in the show before, but he has changed the defensive line.
100%.
100% changed it. I mean, the day he stepped back on the field, everything looked different. And, he doesn't have all the sacks, but he's got all the pressures, and he takes all the pressure off of Chris Jones, Karlaftis, FAU. Everybody else that's out on the field, he takes that pressure off of them.
He's the Sammy Watkins of the defense.
He really is. I mean, he really is. I think he's another key factor in this defensive line. He is what he is. This is his first Super Bowl he gets to play in.
Which is
insane to think about.
Yeah,
but
man.
The dude, he's amped and he's ready to go. And I think that's going to be a huge factor. Again, Spags did some things in that Buffalo game that we really hadn't seen him do all year. And that's something it was a pleasant surprise. But some of his exotic blitzes came out of nowhere. The packages that he put together, he knows how to read an offense so well that he's trained these guys to read offenses very well. And I think Spags is a key factor. We're what are we 8-0 against Fangio?
Yep.
That's good.
Which goes back to
Denver.
But also he was there at Miami as well. So it wasn't just at the one place, right?
And remember, he was a consultant too, Quentin.
Right.
He was a consultant against a team we beat last year in the Super Bowl. Or 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. So, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was a consultant for another team last year that we beat. I think it was the Ravens.
Been with the Eagles for the most part, I feel like.
Not last
Well,
year,
maybe
right?
it was with the Dolphins because he was
He
a
was-
consultant for the
Yeah, he was
Eagles
with the
a
Dolphins.
year, and
That's
then I
what it
think
was.
he went to the Dolphins. I think he
That's
went
right.
to the Dolphins.
That's right.
And then the Eagles took him.
Well, regardless, we know how to handle him offensively. We know how to handle him. Andy knows how to handle him. So it's nice to see that we are able to bring all that together. Jalen Hurts, to me, I go back to that game 2 years ago. I look at some of the games he's played here recently. He really does. Mahomes shreds his defenses. It's sad, but he does. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Fangio tries way too hard. You bring the blitz against Mahomes, you might as well just figure it's going to be a 30-yard gain.
Well, and it's also just because, like I said earlier, he plays so much of let's play back, let's not give up the big play. And obviously this is one of the more talented defense that he's gotten to work with. But the fact that he wants to just play this back sort of bend but don't break defense, Kansas City has, and Patrick Mahomes have changed the way that they play, and they're able to win against those things because it's like, okay, you want me to take the 5-yard check down? All right, I'll take the 5-yard check. Like, that's fine.
Nickel and dimey.
Early in his career, he wouldn't have done that, right? He would try and run around and try and take only the big plays, but Patrick Mahomes is totally willing and accepting to take that. And a lot of the ways, Andy Reid is scheming up those kinds of throws. So
He is.
for everybody.
He is. He's scheming up the design quarterback runs. Now, there's times that Mahomes does it on his own when he has to, but Andy knows exactly when to pick and choose and where to go with it. But as far as Hurts is concerned, I'm not going to take any away. He gets a lot of unnecessary hate. I will say that.
Yeah.
But some of it is warranted because there's times that he makes giant mistakes. Again, Philip brought it up. When you're in a pressure situation, throw the ball away. Don't take a 15-yard sack. Don't take a 15-yard sack when you're already 3rd and 12. Don't take a 15-yard sack when you're 4th and 3 and you're trying to go for it. Don't do those things. Sirianni is a big problem too because he will tell him, go for it, go for it, go for it. You can't do that. You can't. So when this is one of those games where the Nick Siriannis, the Dan Campbells of the world, they won't win against Andy Reid doing that.
The Dan Quinns.
Yeah, they just won't win against Andy doing that. The thing about Hurts, I think we have a lot of fast players on our defense. So if he does break out, I guarantee you Spags is going to have a spy on him all the time because of his speed, because of the fact that he does break out and try to run the ball. He will have a spy on him. He's not going to get too far with it. As far as the tush push is concerned, I'm wondering if they're not second guessing it, given the fact that we shut the Bills down 4 times. I don't know that they'll try that again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Watch Sirianni.
They're going to have some sort of wrinkle to it, and I'll be interested to see what kind of wrinkle that they've added to it.
Interesting.
There has to be something because I don't know if anybody noticed when we were going against Josh and the offensive line of the Bills when they tried that, if you looked at how the defensive line lowered their body and got themselves in a position to push up instead of just going right at the middle or over the top to try to stop them, these guys went from the bottom up and they were able to stand them straight up and push them backwards. And that's something that no other team has been able to do. The Chiefs have kind of worked on that to get their defensive line to be able to withstand that and get in the right position. And they've done it. They proved it. I think that's another thing. This isn't the same offensive line that did the tush push, 43 times in one season. I don't think it's the same. It's not the same offensive line that was able to. It's not the same players in general. I don't know if they perfected it as much. But, if you looked at when Josh Allen did it, they knew that Josh Allen usually goes to the right. He lunges to the right side.
Every time.
Every single time. And they knew he was coming. Jalen Hurts, I think if I'm not mistaken, the few times that I've watched him do it, he will try to go either directly up the middle or just to the left a little bit. He doesn't go to the right as much. Josh Allen does because he feels he can lean that way, and that was where his gap would be. I don't think they have that as much with the Eagles. I just don't think they have it down yet. I mean, when you had Jason and all those other guys that were able to do it, they knew what they were doing. They haven't done it nearly as much this year, and that could be contributed to Saquon Barkley being there. They haven't really had to, but I don't. They did do it when Barkley was limited to 60 yards in a game, and they failed.
They're going to do it, and they're going to be able to successfully do it. It's just if they do it 4 times, can you stop them one of those 4 times? Can you stop them 2 of those 4 times? It's really going to be can you get one of those stops? I mean, that's really what you're looking for, because Jalen Hurts is so special because of just how strong his lower body is, right? Yeah. I mean, years ago, probably in the last Super Bowl, they talked about how, he can like bench press, or he can squat like 400 pounds or whatever it is. And the fact that he's able to do that, that's why he's able to push that far through. Plus, this, like I said earlier, while the weakness of the offensive line for the Eagles is their interior, like weakness is like in heavy quotes, because we're still talking about the best offensive line in football.
Relatively speaking. I don't get into all that shit. Here's why. I'm going to beat this horse until it bleeds. Strength of schedule all day long. All day long. It all depends on who you're playing and who you're going against. I don't believe that they are the best defensive line in football. I think they're probably top 3, top 4, maybe top 5. I don't think they're the best. I just don't. I think that an NFC team that had the schedule that they had this year, and even it was no different than 2022, and this is a little harder schedule, but not nearly as hard as it could be if they were an AFC team. Let me ask you guys, do you think the Eagles would have made the Super Bowl in 2022 or this year if they were an AFC football team? I do not believe they would. What do you guys think?
I mean, you'd have to get through Patrick Mahomes, and they didn't do it last time. So
okay, yeah. Do you think they would have even made it as far as they have? Do you?
That was because MVS dropped the ball.
Yeah. Do you think they would be in an NFC or an AFC championship game, or even got to it, if they were in an AFC in the AFC division? I don't think they would have. Not with that coach, man. It just doesn't happen. They have some great players, but I don't think they have the complete package to be able to get it all the way through. If that was the case, look, man, the Ravens are a better football team than they are in a lot of ways.
Who's favored who's favored
in this game? We are by 1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. So it's a pick 'em game.
It is.
That's not. Oh, so it's basically a pick 50-50. Okay.
And I got to be honest with you. I think that I don't even know. I think the reason that is, as much as I hate to say this, I think a lot of it's the fact that we've been underdogs for the last three years.
Fair. You don't think the point spread could change at all?
I think it. I mean, it could.
It could. Yeah.
I don't
know if it will, but it's been the same for like what?
It opened up. It opened up at 1.5.
Yeah.
It hasn't moved, which means that the money is evenly split between the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Fair. So yeah, it's a coin flip.
It really is. I think that this is the best version. This is the best version of the Eagles that we've seen. This is a more talented team than when we saw the Eagles 2 years ago. And I think it'd be really interesting to have the conversation about, is this the best team overall that the Chiefs have faced in the Super Bowl?
I mean, relatively speaking, probably so. Because it isn't. I mean, I don't know, man. The 49ers were a pretty good football team.
Yeah.
They didn't have the quarterback.
I know that's that's why there's a real conversation to be like, this is a really talented team.
Yeah. I agree. I just don't see how.
It don't mean nothing when it's not all together on the field. Yeah, they made it far to the Super Bowl because of that talent, bro. But that's the thing. The talent on the team with the brains made it there, not the coach, because the coach, as JP would so elegantly put it, a cheerleader. Just yeah. I don't want to hear shit about it, Chiefs fans. Mm-hmm. Why do you think he said that? Because of MVS dropping that ball. If MVS didn't drop that ball, he wouldn't be saying all that, man.
No,
it was like his way of like, I finally got the Chiefs. Nobody else in the world got the Chiefs. Joe Burrow, man, come on, man. Like, he's the one I will give credit to who has done it before, and we had to eat that crow and hear their fans talk shit so many times on those shits and
Well,
that.
that's a great example, right?
Guy.
Think
Exactly.
about it. That's a great example.
They don't show us no respect, man. Even
Look
though
at the
we beat
Cincinnati
y'all.
Bengals.
Yeah.
Look at the Bengals. That team put up. They were one of the highest scoring football teams in the league this year. Didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, defense matters.
Defense.
Yeah,
Okay, but here's the thing: we had the 27th ranked defense. Went to a Super Bowl. My point is, I don't think the Eagles would. They don't put up those kind of points. They would have never put up those kind of points in the AFC. They don't have the offense for it.
Yeah,
They
the
just
NFC is weaker. You could make an argument certain there. Yeah, there's star power, but the Eagles, the last 2 times they made the Super Bowl, they pretty much have had blowouts in the NFC Championship games. They weren't really battle tested.
Correct. Absolutely. And I mean, people could say what they want about Washington. In my opinion, that was the offensive line just giving up on. They just gave Jaden Daniels, said, "Here, take him. We don't want to protect the kid." I mean, that's really what happened. I mean, it's sad, but that's what happened. Mm-hmm. And it's sickening to think about. But their defense didn't do them any favors either. But the offensive line just gave up Jaden Daniels. You're not going to see that with the Chiefs.
Yeah, so, Jalen Carter is a beast.
He is a beast.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. I mean, I'm tired of hearing how he's better than Chris Jones because he's not. But he is a beast. I'll give him credit. He's a beast.
Yeah. And I think how to handle Jalen Carter, and I'm going to just mention this, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, it all begins with our offensive line, bro. For the line, the objective is to provide Mahomes with enough time to throw and create a clean pocket, particularly against these two, man. And additionally, they must generate gaps for Kareem Hunt and, yes, Isaiah Pacheco when he gets his opportunities for both in the run and the passing game. You got to get them involved in the passing game as well. That's how you have the opportunity. And I feel like a game like this with a guy like Kareem, man, I feel like this is a game you got to give him the ball 13 or 14 times. And with this defense, especially if the offensive line play their cards right, get him over 60 yards rushing, he could score in this game, man. Especially this is his first Super Bowl. He's motivated, bro. He's hungry. And this is one of those games, if you give Mahomes that clean pocket, he can get over like at least 200 yards passing, even 250. I think he can score 3 touchdowns against this secondary, man. And I think this is a game where Xavier Worthy, this is why I mentioned MVS, because remember, Xavier Worthy, he mentioned that it was that Eagles game where MVS dropped that ball. He went directly to the Chiefs' Instagram account, their messenger, and said, if y'all draft me, I wouldn't have dropped that pass. This is the opportunity right now for him.
That kid, I think he's got to have I think D-Hop is going to play a big part in this game.
Yeah, you know what? So let's just jump into our segment and just talk about pick. We'll go one offensive player, one defensive player, and who do you think that this is sort of one of the guys that really needs to perform? So,
all right, let's do all offense first. Everybody do an offensive player, then we'll go all defense.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't you go first, JP? Because you brought up D-Hop.
I think Kareem Hunt is going to be a huge factor. He's going to be a huge factor in this game. Mm-hmm. I mean, his talent, his ability, he's proven it time and time again. This is the guy that he's going to be the go-to guy for Mahomes, whether it be on the ground or in the air. He's going to be the guy that's going to make a huge deciding factor how this game turns out. He's too talented to let sit on the sidelines. Just too talented. That's my guy, man. That's the guy that I think is going to make a difference on the offense.
Okay, nice. Philip, what you got?
I'm going to go with JP took my guy, Kareem, but I'm going to go with another one. I'm going with Xavier Worthy in this one, man. I think after what you saw what he did, have his most successful game of the season last week against the Bills with 85 yards, 6 catches, which was a career high for him, and scoring a touchdown. I feel like he can definitely have a big impact in this game, man, for real. I mean, with his speed, and you got D-Hop and you got Hollywood Brown, who are teammates again since when they were at the Cardinals together. When they're healthy, they are one of the most explosive duos out there on the field. I mean, tasking with opposing defenses like the freaking Eagles, they're going to have to face this tough task when the Chiefs feature their 4 leading receivers, including Worthy and Juju Smith-Schuster, and then also sprinkle in there Justin Watson. pick your poison. So with Worthy, he's definitely going to make an impact. And with his presence alone, he's going to open up along with Kelsey as well.
Nice. Mine's D-Hop. I think this is the time he goes off. That's what I believe. I think he's going to have a good big game. I don't know if he's going to get over 100 yards, but I think he has a chance to do a Sammy Watkins-like effect we had in the first Super Bowl when the Chiefs beat the 49ers.
That was my other guy, so I agree with you.
I think that Caliendo, the left guard. What?
They count. They're an offensive player.
That's an offense. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I think that is going to be a huge part. We've talked about how well, relatively speaking, that we've seen Tooney play left tackle. But when you moved him out, right, you weakened your left guard spot. And Jalen Carter is going to be lined up right there, probably for a majority of the game. And how are you going to take care of that? And inevitably, you can't double team Carter the entire game. So how is Caliendo going to hold up against one of the better defensive tackles in the game? I think that is a huge matchup. It's one of the things that I'm going to watch during this game, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think that is a huge matchup heading into this game.
It is. I didn't think about that, but you're right. I mean, you're not going to be able to double team him the entire time. I think they're going to have to help. They're going to have to definitely give Caliendo help on that side. I mean, this may be a game where you seem like a Noah Gray or even Pacheco over there blocking.
Yeah, but because he's an interior guy, it's hard to give him help with like a tight end or
That's
whatever.
True.
You have to help. I think that Creed Humphrey is going to help for a good chunk of the game, but he can't help the entire game. So Nick Caliendo, I think that is one of the key factors of the game. And it's just because of how much respect that I have for Carter. And a lot of that just comes from, I mean, the guy continues to just show that he truly is one of the better defensive tackles in the league. So that is a huge matchup. And I know it's the boring take because it's an offensive lineman, but
no, it's factual though. I mean, it really is. Because I mean, without those guys, Mahomes got nothing. Mahomes has no time. He has nothing. It's him. You can't have him improvise the entire game.
And we talk about all the time how pressure from the outside, you can step up into the pocket and still make your throw, but pressure straight up at your face, that is so much more difficult to deal with from a quarterback's perspective. Like Tom Brady talked about it when is that pressure from the middle is more difficult because you can't step up into your throws and make your throws. Now, Patrick Mahomes has the advantage of he's the slipperiest quarterback, that's not a running quarterback. So he avoids a lot of those big sacks, and he has the pure arm talent to not have to step into his throws. But if you want your passes to be as accurate as possible, you need to be able to step into your throws. So that sort of pressure up the middle is more impactful than the ones around the edge.
Yeah, very true. Okay, defense.
Why don't you go ahead, JP?
We'll do the same order.
I got to be honest with you, man. It's going to be on the defensive line, and I'm going to say this. It's really Mike Pennell. We have got to be able to stop the run before anything else. Mike Pennell has proven time and time again that he's that guy. I think with him being in the game, along with everybody else that's there, that's going to be a huge factor. But he's got to be able to be 100% healthy and ready to be able to step up when needed. And we know we're going to need him with Barkley. It is what it is. He's got to be able to step up and stop the run. That's my guy right there.
Okay.
I think you're next, Caleb.
Oh,
no, I don't know. Who is it?
No,
Philip, is you?
Philip.
Yeah, I'll go. All right. And I hope the Chiefs are watching. Spags, if you're watching, and Merritt, I hope you're watching on this too. Because I feel like the Eagles are going to try to take this into consideration and try to use this to their advantage. And 2-7, if you're out there watching, this is for you, man, because this is going to be vital for our defense to consider, because Eagles wide receiver Devontae Smith, who has a total of 228 snaps from the slot. This means that Shamari Connor will be seeing a lot more of Devontae Smith more than Trent McDuffie on those plays. So Connor needs to be locked and loaded and ready and watch the quarterback's eyes and also watch Smith and also know what his job is supposed to do, because they're going to go after him. And also, yes, over the middle with our linebackers. But we have dominated over the middle, especially against the tight ends over the last 5 games. And that we've been doing good. But the Philadelphia Eagles, because of that, they're going to take advantage of that. So if Smith opens up, especially going against Connor, then they're going to try to target Dallas Goedert to get open over the middle. So that's something big because they have a significant chance to gain quick and lasting offensive momentum by targeting Smith or Goddard in the middle of the field. So that's something to take a look at this Sunday.
Caleb?
Yeah. I'm going to give mine to someone you guys are probably not thinking of, but FAU, I think is a rotational piece. Not many people are talking about him. The first of all, he kind of rose up a little, but I think this is the time he lets everybody know who he is.
Run stuffer.
Huh? Yeah, run stuffer. We need him.
Yeah.
Wow, man, you guys left so many players open for me.
Well, pick one, man. It
I
can't
was
be that
thinking-
hard.
I know. I was thinking about going a corner, but I think I'm just going to go with Justin Reed. This is a guy that we probably don't talk about enough, just in general, about how good Justin Reed is, and he is the leader on the back end of that defense. And I think that if you're going to stop Saquon Barkley from making those big runs, Justin Reed's going to be a big part of that, right? We talked about early in the show about how Saquon Barkley has taken so many of those, what probably should be a 5-yard run, and has taken him to the house 60 yards down the field. I mean, when the guy gets going, he's a lot like a Derrick Henry, where he gets chugging along, and it's like, man, what are you going to do? How are you going to stop him? So you got to keep him from breaking those runs out and then exploding them out even further. So I think Justin Reed is going to be a big part of it. But I wanted to also mention something that you said, Philip. I actually think that McDuffie is going to be put on Devontae Smith. And I think that they're going to use Watson and a combination of other guys to go on A.J. Brown. Because one of the things that McDuffie struggles with, basically the only thing McDuffie struggles against, is bigger, more physical wide receivers. Yeah. And Devontae Smith, last time I checked, is 98% muscle. And he's just a little bit taller than McDuffie. And A.J. Brown wins when he is able to get physical with corners. And Jalen Watson is just a more physical corner than McDuffie is. And he's also better at recovering than what McDuffie is. So I actually think Watson is going to be put on A.J. Brown. And then you're going to have different combination of guys when he gets double teamed to be over there. So I think that Devontae Smith is going to be shut down by McDuffie. And you're going to not have to worry about him. And I don't think Devontae Smith is going to be impacted. He's not going to be
as much
any sort of.
What about Goddard?
I don't think so.
He's low-key underrated and pretty good.
Yeah, Goddard makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
Well, in Kansas City, we talked about this all year, especially early in the year, where Kansas City was giving up a ton of yards to tight ends. But to be honest, if the Eagles are throwing the football, I like my chances.
Okay.
Yeah.
If
absolutely.
the Eagles are dropping, and it's not because I'm hating on Jalen Hurts. I think it's just that I know what Saquon is, and there are 3 things that can happen when you pass the ball. You can catch it, you can throw an interception, or you can throw an incompletion, right? And I think that Kansas City has a really good chance of having one of those 2 better options for Kansas City.
Well, let's talk about this then. How many interceptions or turnovers do you think Kansas City is going to have against the Eagles?
Are we including 4th downs, turnover on downs?
It doesn't matter what down it is. It could be any down.
I know. I mean, are we including a turnover on downs as a turnover?
No, because that's. I mean, I agree that is a turnover, but I'm talking about natural turnovers.
Yeah, I don't think there's any by other team.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, Quentin, I got one for y'all. So I'm going to say this as we began the show, as you mentioned his name. Do not be surprised if Nico Remigio makes an impact play on special teams, because the Eagles on punt and kickoff return are just as bad as the Bills. You thought you saw something with the Bills allowing those many yards?
Yeah.
The Eagles are just as bad, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna just tell you this. Don't forget, Uncle Dave is a wizard of this. He's the Andy Reid of return specialists. Devin Hester, Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, Kadarius Toney, that 65-yard punt return. So I'm just going to tell you, they thought that was something. I would not be surprised if Nico
breaks one.
I'd like to see him
Hey,
break one.
if he does that, special teams is the big factor. And the Chiefs, punt and kick returns, and also the kicking game, Butker, he still scares me, but blocking.
That would be
the
so
Chiefs
funny.
have an opportunity to hurt them in third phase.
And that's the thing, too, I want to mention to you, Quentin. When you watch Remigio return those kicks, go back and watch those returns on both the Bills and the Texans. Watch him follow his blocks. When he sees those blocks, he doesn't hesitate. He just cuts through. He follows through. Just like, as you mentioned earlier, JP, just like Kareem Hunt, the vision.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I mean, imagine Remigio with McColl's speed and with that vision.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you this. I haven't seen that vision since Dante Hall. He doesn't have the Dante Hall speed, but he had the vision and the speed.
Yeah.
And that's what Remigio has. He has the vision. And that's what I want to see.
I agree. So the only thing we got left is if we want to do score predictions now.
That's fine.
What do you want to do, Quentin?
Well, I just wanted to say, and maybe I should just save this to the end of it, but enjoy it, just enjoy the rest of this week. I think that's something that I'm trying not to lose sight of, but just enjoy this week and everything what Kansas City has done is so unprecedented and it's amazing. And just take a second and realize that I've now seen the Chiefs play in this game 5 times.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Patrick Mahomes has more playoff wins than multiple franchises, including like the Seattle Seahawks. Just take a second and realize what you're watching and just enjoy
it.
Exactly.
And think about it. There's a question out there, about Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and Andy was a give-up artist. Supposedly lost in the playoffs, did this, did that with the Eagles. Andy was 1-4 in the playoffs prior to Patrick Mahomes. So if anybody has any question about his impact on not only Andy Reid, but the Super Bowl in general and winning playoff games, there's your answer. 12 years, actually longer than that. 1-4 with Kansas City. 1-4. Now you're 17-3.
Woo.
17-3 in the playoffs.
Or just the Chiefs franchise as a whole,
Yeah.
Is that like, what was it, 20 years that they hadn't won a playoff game?
Yep.
1993.
And
I
then,
think was last year. Yeah.
Kansas City and Alex Smith go to Houston and beat, I believe, Deshaun Watson at the time? No.
No, it was.
No,
it
Ryan Mallett or Brian Hoyer.
Anyway, somebody who gives a shit. That's who they beat. Who gives a shit? That's who they beat. They beat them down in Houston. Then finally we get the win at Arrowhead against Houston. Like, Houston's been a very significant part of this franchise.
It really has been.
It was a Colts.
Colts. It was the Colts.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was the
Colts.
Colts. Andrew Luck. Yeah.
Fucking Andrew Luck.
That was the last game.
Yeah, man. We'll be on Thursday. Are we going to do Thursday or not? What are we doing Thursday? I'll say this, Will. If there's any changes, anything that comes up, we'll do a show.
Yeah.
But if not, we're going to do a show after the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because this week is just so much. I mean, it's pretty much repetitive stuff, man, to be honest with you. There's just not a whole lot to continue to talk about, but other than us, three-peating, which is, the ultimate goal.
My quick score prediction, a 32-29 Chiefs. Chiefs win by 3 because they beat us.
You stole my score prediction, Quentin.
I didn't steal nothing.
Damn thief.
Oh, that was my score prediction, 32-29. That's exactly.
Get good, Philip, I guess.
Whatever.
Caleb, what do you got, man?
I'm going to say 36 Chiefs, 27 Eagles.
Thank you. That's I think it's going to be a minimum of 7-point win.
I hope so.
And I think I was 35-28.
As long as they win by 1 point, that's all that matters.
Exactly. But I want it to be a little bit more than that. Here's my reasoning behind that. There's only one reason. I don't care if we win by 1 or if we win by 20. I would like to see us win by a little bit more just to shut these fuckers up. To be honest with you, I'm so tired of hearing all the bullshit. Chiefs won because those one-score games. It's always comes down to the refs helped us. We win
That's
by a
the other
score
thing.
or 2.
Yeah, I want the Chiefs to win, and I don't want don't give them an excuse.
Exactly. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear anymore. I mean, poor Mahomes and Kelsey are sitting there in media day, and these idiots. One idiot goes to both of them and asks them something about the refs. Something stupid about the refs.
Yeah, at this point, what comes to refs, people are going to complain. There's nothing that can be done because the refs are just making calls just like anyone else. Again, the Chiefs were the darling NFL. Now they're the hated. So,
Yep.
Again, enjoy this because we're going to go for good.
It doesn't last forever, so.
Does not last forever.
No, it doesn't.
Does not last forever.
All right, guys. Well, if anything changes, we'll definitely do a show on Thursday. If not, we will talk to you again after the Super Bowl.
Go Chiefs.
Peace out, everybody.
3-peat.